drama that went down yesterday on Twitch, Reddit, everywhere. Let's talk about it. Yo, what's up, guys? Why Not Be Reckless, aka Why Not Be Caster, one of the HCS commentators, analysts, and grassroots content creators, and we have another HCS report where today we're going to be covering all of the drama that ultimately is going to lead to one of the craziest roster manias that we have ever seen, and let's dive right into it. So this is a roster mania that's going to cover even a team that made a grand finals. That's right, I'm talking FaZe. I'll walk you through all of the I guess potential moves and even confirmed moves, but I guess first we got to start off with Ronnie Intel tweeting out that Lucid is expected to be joining FaZe from SSG. Joining FaZe. Oh, from it. I was like, wait, what? It took me a second to put that one together. Right off the rip, you're talking about his former teammates in Trippy and Penguin and maybe reuniting with Lucid, which really shouldn't surprise anybody. Like, we've seen the talks that have been going down. There's been rumors that SSG just aren't clicking together. I think back to that APG stream, which we'll talk about his more recent stream, but a while ago, where APG had pointed out that, oh, they're going to be watching some film review after this one. This is crazy. And Stellar comes into the chat and just laughs as LOL, and then eventually says, I've watched more film review than I have ever in my career. That told me right off the rip, at least me personally, that there was not only issues going on in the locker room, but also a difference on how to approach said issue. And we know that Lucid and Snakebite both are huge when it comes to film review, so it almost felt like directly talking to them is something you really have to get off of his chest. So no real surprise that Lucid was ultimately maybe planning on leaving the Space Station Gaming roster, and in fact, some of the roster believed that maybe these moves were starting to move around even before Dallas, as we saw a tweet from, or I guess a message from Stellar saying, I think some people have been on FaZe since before the event. And this is kind of what from what I've noticed, what started all the crazy drama is that not only was Lucid going to this FaZe roster, but Stellar accused him of saying that there was some talks going on even before the event, kind of setting this up, which I guess we should not be surprised by this. Think about Optic Gaming, and we're hearing rumors of there was talks even going since like a couple events into last year leading up to this, and it felt like no matter what happened, this roster was going to come together. Even the likes of Bound and Legend taking every tournament but one, including the World Championship, didn't stop this from happening. Well, it's almost like Stellar's accusing that of happening some even before Dallas, that moves were already leading to Lucid joining that FaZe roster. We'll fast forward a little bit. Lucid kind of responds to that, saying, only thing I'll say is, I'm not the one chilling in H-chat, spit talking my teammates. Always been about the team I'm actually on, every time, all the time. So it's already going down. It's already going down. So again, I mean, Stellar kind of came in a little bit public in that Twitch chat, talking about, you know, do you believe in magic kind of thing. We're talking to APG, so maybe feels like Stellar was talking a bit public, not only in Twitch chats a little bit, but also maybe more specific in those Discord calls when they were running AIDS lobbies. There's no proof of that, but apparently something got into the wind and got back to Lucid, and he wasn't happy about that ultimately. And Stellar then says, me and Kevin strayed from the system, learned the lesson. So that's kind of saying, or at least we could allude to that he felt like they played this like maybe super fast style, and maybe they should have went out and got players that maybe played a similar style, and maybe Snakebite and or Lucid style doesn't exactly complement how they ultimately wanted to play. And you think back to the Halo 5 days, Shotzi and Renegade. Fast forward to Halo Infinite, you had Penguin on that roster, who at one point was going by Dead Zone at one point. You've had a certain style, even Legend and Bound, a certain style of players. And the question is, did Lucid and Snakebite fit that mold? Well, speaking of Snakebite, we do see that Snakebite has removed SSG from their Twitter bio, saying Halo Player 4, and I guess kind of a question mark right now. So we got Lucid potentially going to FaZe, which we'll talk about that as well, because there was plenty to talk about. And then we'll also say that Space Station Gaming Snakebite is in the wind right now, because right now we have no idea what's going on with him. But we'll fast forward a little bit, saying that FaZe are also targeting Precision. So if that is the case, you would have to think Trippy and Penguin stay together, maybe? I mean, they've been a long-time duo. Bring the trio back? Does that mean that maybe Suppressed and or Falcate are without a home? No guarantees with that, but if we dig in a little bit deeper, we'll see there was some drama around that as well. So Suppressed immediately sending a message over to Trippy saying, you finally got your duo. Also, when you drop someone, make sure you tell them. Grow some, maybe. I read this and I was like, bro. Like, I feel like when we were, I guess once one cat got let out of the bag, everybody just started throwing hands. And Suppressed apparently not happy. Again, you finally got your duo. Also, when you drop someone, make sure you tell them, LOL, grow some maybe. Also follows that up with saying, everyone knows you have a slower play style, which is fine, but we can't do that, says Suppressed. Again, this team, mind you, just finished making a grand finals, by the way. And immediately there was some drama there. Leading us to Trippy responding, saying, tell Donnie he didn't kiss a grand finals until he met me. And I'm not gonna lie, it's quite the clapback by Trippy. But as much as Shopify Rebellion were incredible last year, remember Shopify Rebellion were Suppressed, Cycle, and my apologies, Soul Snipe and Mental. They never made the grand finals. A lot of top threes, but no grand finals in there. So a pretty decent clapback by Trippy. But they're just going a little bit back and forward. It says, and then Suppressed says, all I'm saying is, not my fault. Mother freakers can't hit a G slide on the map. So I don't know if that was Suppressed talking to Trippy, by the way. I don't know if that was exactly attacking Trippy's mechanics, and more so maybe attacking his play style on how he approaches the game. And we've talked about it time and time again. There's a million different ways to approach Halo. And one player's or one team's ideal situation might be different than others. Some people have a naturally slower pace, and that's how they kind of thrive. Some teams will have a naturally faster pace, and they want to keep applying that pressure. So maybe Suppressed going at Trippy, saying, "Hey, you got to be more aggressive. You got to G slide into a situation." Again, I'm just kind of extrapolating from the information that we're seeing here. But eventually Suppressed says, and this kind of felt like a response to the whole grand finals comment by Trippy, saying, I ran your pockets on SR. Remember Himothy? If you didn't have formal, you'd be top 6 locked. Naga? I have no idea what that is. I'm not young enough to know what that is. But either way, so saying he didn't make a grand finals, but going at Trippy, say, hey, look, we had your number when we were on Shopify Rebellion, and then kind of accusing Trippy by getting carried by Formal a little bit. It was crazy, man. It was crazy going down, and eventually Suppressed does say, there's 2 people who move. 2 people who weren't It's fine. It's okay. They can enjoy being a slower paced team. And that was most of the drama that I saw. But obviously, this is leading to suppressed without a home here. Now, keep in mind though, is that there was also mentions of precision also being targeted by FaZe. So it is so obviously there's an odd man out of the situation, and you got to ask yourself. So what does that mean? Does that mean the trio gets back together of Penguin, Trippy, and Lucid? The players that were ultimately dropped from Optic get back together and join Precision, or is there some type of mix-up where maybe like Penguin goes somewhere and it's Falcated in the mix? Just for the sake of what kind of feels clean, like bringing back the trio from Optic kind of makes sense to me. So I think there's a chance that Falcated is the one that gets left off, and maybe that leads to Falcated and Suppressed staying together. There's a good chance that ultimately that can happen, but it seems like there's a good chance that FaZe could be rocking with Precision and Lucid now, which, by the way, would be a damn good team. Trippy, Lucid, Penguin, and Precision. Nothing official just yet, but it seems like this could be a thing here where if we scroll down, SSG, we already see Snakebite took SSG out of the bio completely. Does that mean that they target something like a Suppressed and a Falcated? Again, nothing official, but does that mean that this could happen? And then what does that mean for the rest of the league? Because lots of times a move gets made from a top team, like a top 2 team, and it trickles down. Not only does it affect FaZe, but it affects SSG. Well, they just stole a player from Envy, potentially, according to Ronnie Intel, that Precision's going. So what does that mean for Envy? Does Snakebite go to Envy, or does things get mixy? Do they steal another player? Do they steal Wu-Tum? What does Nevis looking for? Like, lots of times it's a move that happens towards the top, but it has this trickle down effect that normally affects 4, 5, sometimes 8, 10 teams in the entire league. And we could see another Rostermania coming at y'all. But yeah, that's your HCS report. All the drama, all the Rostermania that you need, and trust me, something tells me it is not done yet. Something tells me we're going to have a whole lot to talk about over the coming days and weeks, leading up to the Pro League that's going to be starting. I think Open Series is going to be starting, and eventually, we'll be at the next major. But until next time, peace out. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment down below. Do it right now.